Everywhere you look right now, there's one trend everyone's talking about. The dopamine detox. Put your phone away, skip social media for a day, avoid junk food, and boom, your brain resets. This isn't some small internet fad anymore. Right now, in 2026, this conversation is bigger than ever. And here's a number that might shock you. The average American checks their phone 205 times a day. 205. That's roughly once every 5 minutes you're awake. And Americans are now spending 4 to 5 hours a day on their phones. That's more screen time than a full workday. Every single week, just scrolling. Therapists are noticing it too. Licensed marriage and family therapist Colette Jane Fair has pointed out that we're moving away from human connection, which is one of the most important things for our well-being. And that's exactly why so many people are reaching for a dopamine detox right now. They're trying to find a way back to something that feels real. But here's where it gets interesting. The trend has gotten so extreme that people aren't just deleting apps anymore. There's a version of this going around called raw dogging a flight, where people intentionally sit through an entire flight with no screens, no books, no music, nothing, just staring straight ahead for hours. Some call it discipline. Some call it insanity. Either way, it tells you how far people are willing to go to feel like they've reset something. There's also a growing trend called anti-dopamine parenting. Parents deliberately limiting their kids' exposure to instant gratification technology, trying to raise children who aren't wired for constant stimulation from birth. Whether or not you agree with it, it shows you this isn't just a personal wellness trend anymore. It's shaping how an entire generation is being raised. So millions of people are trying this. Reddit threads, YouTube challenges, TikTok's 24-hour dopamine detox videos. Everyone's treating this like it's a proven scientific method. But I'm going to say something straightforward. The way this trend is being presented is scientifically wrong. You cannot detox dopamine. It's not a toxin that builds up in your blood and needs to be flushed out. Scientists and clinical psychologists have been saying this clearly. A detox means eliminating a chemical from your body, the way your body clears alcohol after you stop drinking. But dopamine isn't something toxic sitting in your system. It's a neurotransmitter your brain produces every single second, no matter what you're doing. It's involved in pleasure, motivation, movement, arousal, even sleep. If you actually eliminated dopamine from your body, you wouldn't feel focused and clear. You wouldn't be able to function at all. So does that mean people are lying when they say a detox helped them? No, their results are real. People genuinely feel better after doing this. But the reason they're feeling better is completely different from the reason they've been told. Today, we're going to clear up this entire confusion. I'll walk you through the actual science behind why dopamine detox works for some people, what current experts are actually recommending in 2026, and then I'll tell you what you should actually be doing instead. Let's start from the very beginning. Dopamine is a chemical messenger produced in your brain. Its job isn't just to make you feel happy. That's the common misconception. Its real job is to create motivation and anticipation. When you sense something good is about to happen, a text message, good news, a tasty meal, dopamine gets released before you actually get it. It's the signal that pushes you toward that thing. That's why your heart skips a little when you hear a notification sound. That's dopamine nudging you to check your phone. Multiply that by 205 times a day, and you start to understand why so many people feel mentally exhausted without even doing anything physically tiring. Here's the key thing to understand. Dopamine itself isn't bad. It's an essential system that helps us survive, learn, and grow. The problem was never dopamine. The problem is which sources we're pulling dopamine from and how frequently. The term dopamine detox was actually coined by a clinical psychologist, Dr. Cameron Seppa, but his original meaning was very different from what's circulating on social media today. His idea came from cognitive behavioral therapy, where people temporarily avoid compulsive behaviors. excessive gaming, social media, junk food, to break a behavior pattern, not to reset a dopamine level. But once this idea went viral, people started interpreting it literally, as if dopamine were some liquid that gets flushed out through a detox, and that misunderstanding became the trend we see today. The actual science says this: your brain doesn't overflow with dopamine in a way that needs draining. And a single day off doesn't reset your receptors the way these videos claim. So what's really happening to people who feel better after a 24 to 48 hour detox? Here's the real explanation, and this part matters. When you step away from short-form videos, junk food, and constant notifications, you're avoiding high-frequency, low-effort dopamine spikes. Every scroll, every swipe, every new video stimulates your dopamine system so intensely that ordinary, everyday things, reading a book, talking to a friend, taking a walk, start to feel boring by comparison. Scientists call this dopamine sensitization. Your brain becomes so used to high-intensity stimulation that low-intensity activities stop feeling rewarding. When you take a break from these high-frequency sources, even for a day or a week, you're unintentionally shifting your dopamine sources from fast to slow. You end up reading more, walking more, having more real conversations. That's slow dopamine, a term therapists are using constantly right now. It's not as intense as a viral video, but it's far more sustainable, and over time, it actually improves your brain's baseline sensitivity. So what this trend is calling detox is actually dopamine source substitution. The name is wrong, but the underlying behavior is right. This distinction matters a lot because if you only focus on the name, detox, you'll treat it like a one-day event and go right back to your old habits afterward. But if you understand the real mechanism, you can turn it into a permanent lifestyle shift. Some time ago, I tried a 30-day dopamine detox myself. Back then, I thought I was resetting my dopamine. The first 3 days were rough. The urge to check my phone, the need to look at notifications, that strange feeling of boredom. It felt like withdrawal. Now I understand that wasn't withdrawal at all. It was my brain struggling to adjust away from its high-frequency stimulation habit. By day 7, I noticed a small shift. I could read a book for 20 minutes without reaching for my phone. Before that, it felt impossible. By day 15, my focus had noticeably improved. I could concentrate on my work for much longer stretches. That wasn't detox magic. It was my brain slowly getting used to slow dopamine activities and learning to find them rewarding. By day 30, when I went back to using social media, I noticed something clear. I wasn't scrolling mindlessly anymore. I was intentional about it. That change wasn't permanent if I slipped back into old habits, but the shift that had happened during those 30 days was completely real. Looking back now, I understand. I wasn't detoxing dopamine. I was gradually shifting my dopamine sources from fast to slow, and that shift is what actually works. So if the one-day detox is a myth, what should you actually be doing? Here are the steps that current experts, not TikTok trends, but actual clinicians, are recommending right now. First, don't quit cold turkey. Reduce gradually. Therapists are now specifically recommending a staged approach. Start with just one weekday evening off your phone, then one full weekday, then a full weekend day, and eventually build up to a full week. Trying to cut everything out in a single day usually backfires. Second, intentionally schedule slow dopamine activities. Reading, walking, deep work, real face-to-face conversations, Build these into your daily routine on purpose. They'll feel boring at first, and that's normal because your brain is still used to high-intensity stimulation. Third, add friction to your high dopamine sources. Keep your phone in another room, delete certain apps, turn off notifications, or use built-in focus modes and app timers. This doesn't rely on willpower. It simply makes easy access harder. And here's a stat worth remembering. Research shows that even just 60 minutes of phone-free time a day can lower stress and improve sleep quality. Just 1 hour. Fourth, be patient. This takes weeks, not a day. The shift in dopamine sensitivity happens gradually. If you try it for one day and expect everything to change, you'll be disappointed. But if you consistently shift your sources for 3 to 4 weeks, real change follows. And one more thing worth mentioning, experts are being clear about this in 2026. If you try to cut back and simply cannot do it, if reducing screen time feels impossible no matter how hard you try, that's not a personal failure. That can be a sign of genuine addiction, and it's worth talking to a professional rather than trying to white-knuckle your way through it alone. So the next time someone tells you to try a 48-hour dopamine detox to reset your brain, you'll know the real story. You're not detoxing dopamine. You're teaching your brain that reward doesn't only come from fast, high-intensity things. It can come from slow, meaningful things too. And that lesson doesn't come from one day. It comes from consistent choices. If this video was helpful, share it with a friend who's currently trying their own dopamine detox. They might want to know the real reason behind it too. And if you'd like me to put together a complete practical guide on building slow dopamine habits, a step-by-step plan you can actually apply to your daily life, let me know in the comments.